Chair lays out House Joint Resolution 109 and recognizes Chairman Burns to explain.
Not so simple. Now, to give you some background, I have a new county to my district, Somervell County, second smallest county geographically in the state, has about 10,000 folks in it. And I was contacted by the elected officials, some of my elected officials in the county, about the treasurer's position. We have an elected treasurer's position, unlike most counties in the state. In fact, you should have a letter. You should have some information in your Dropbox from my county commissioner's court about that position. But my county judge informed me that for the better part of the past decade, there have been a variety of inconsistencies and serious issues occurring within the office of the treasurer. The court has gone down just about every avenue available in trying to correct this. The commissioners and the judge have concluded that moving this position from an elected position to an appointed position would be best. In December of 2022, the former treasurer retired and the county appointed an individual to take on the duties, and the appointed treasurer is fully aware of and actually supports transferring the duties of the office. I'm not sure what comments will be made during public testimony today, but I would like to take a moment to address some of the concerns that have been raised by individuals and groups, frankly, that don't live in or vote in Somervell County to us. One of the concerns was that moving to an appointed treasurer would result in lack of accountability regarding the treasurer's duties on the part of the person who assumes the duties of the office. We've drafted this constitutional amendment in such a way that if adopted, the voters of Somervell County, if adopted by the voters of Somervell County, the Commissioners Court will decide on who carries the duties of the office. Additionally, it will allow the court the discretion to change the individual who holds those duties in the case that inconsistencies arise in the future. This will cause that individual to be accountable to the Commissioners Court and therefore accountable to the taxpayers. What if this isn't what the people of Somervell County want? Well, this is a constitutional amendment, which means that its passage simply allows the people of the county the ability to vote on this matter. If the people of Somervell County oppose this, then their vote will reflect that. I don't live in Somervell County. I live in Johnson County. And I don't get to choose this. I'm just trying to pass this so the voters of Somervell County can determine what they want. Another concern was this is unprecedented. If it passes, it will open the door for all other treasurer's offices to be abolished. Well, 9 counties, as well as the state of Texas, have done away with the office of treasurer back in the 80s and 90s. Those counties vary greatly in population and size, ranging from 25,000 to almost 2 million residents, which means it is precedented and doesn't open a Pandora's box for broad abolition. It's simply done on a case-by-case basis by counties who determine that this is the best way for them to move forward. Shortcomings with the elected treasurer created issues, according to my commissioners, with the IRS regarding late payments and penalties for late payment. A long list of deficiencies from independent outside audits done in 2019 and 2020 when they could do audits. The underpayment of the county health insurance plan nearly eliminated the health care program for our county employees, and the list goes on. And look, I have the utmost respect for treasurers across the state. The Johnson County treasurer, the county in which I live, does an outstanding job. And moving to an appointed position in my county would not be the answer. May not be the answer and it wouldn't be the answer for most counties in Texas without question. Probably only a couple really need this remedy. However, the last decade has proven to anyone familiar with Somervell County issues that no association, no group, or people from outside that county should make this decision. It should be solely in the hands of the voters of Somervell County. Members, at this time, I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have about it.
Thank you, members. Are there any questions for Chairman Burns? If not, we will proceed to testimony. Chair calls Trey Brown. And please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill.
Good evening. My name is Trey Brown. I'm the county attorney of Somervell County. I'm here on behalf of Danny Chambers, our county judge who couldn't make it tonight. I'm also representing the commissioners, myself personally with what I've dealt with this issue within the county, and Valerie Williams, who is our appointed treasurer, is here today. She asked not to speak, but she said if I say something wrong, she'll grab my leg or something to let me know I've misrepresented her. This is a little different for me from doing
Your
closing.
position on the bill?
I'm sorry, I am for this bill. I'm usually used to making closing arguments, not just up here speaking, so I apologize. I'm going to tell you a little bit about my background only because I'm going to loop around and make a point about it later. I've been an assistant district attorney in Dallas County for 2.5 years. I've been in Johnson County for the last 12.5 years. When Indy Lucas passed away in a car accident, I'd been living in Johnson County for 3 years, and the commissioners asked me to step in, and I've been there since March 1st. I've been a felony court chief. I've been a misdemeanor court. Felony court is a 2 or 3, misdemeanor chief. And before I get in to it's a train wreck. But the reason I'm making those points are, I can probably tell you something if you ask me about how many misdemeanor prosecutors or felony prosecutors Dallas County or Johnson County may need. I may be able to give you some help, but even though I've only been out in Johnson County for a year, I honestly can't tell you anything than what I know from when I was there. I can't tell you how good those prosecutors are. I can't tell you that they still need 2 per court. I can't tell you that they need 2 more because I'm not there. I was those positions. I still am now a county attorney, but still a prosecutor. But I can't go to another county, especially one that I've never been in, and get up here and try to actually give you guys accurate information on what you should do. It's just not possible. When I took over March 1st, never been a county attorney. I was nervous, like any position. We all have to learn it. And we were immediately hit with, we were covered by Blue Cross Blue Shield. The premiums were missed for all the county employees. We were getting late notices. We were having to pay penalties on them. Aflac, our supplemental insurance that comes in, those premiums were not getting paid for the employees that had signed up for the extra coverage. We're getting fined by the IRS because we were not filing our W-2s electronically as was required by the county or by the state or federal government. I think we were charged the tune of about $14,000 a year for that. Money was missing. The police chief came in one day and told me before I got there that they'd received a $40,000 check that was going to go for fire equipment. Never got deposited. He had checked with our treasurer for months, never found it. Literally went in, asked her for it. She picked up her coffee cup one day and the check was sitting underneath the coffee cup and it had expired, and they lost out on those funds.
Thank you for your testimony. Members, are there any questions for this witness?
I have a couple.
Okay, Chair recognizes Representative Rosenthal.
I know I'm going to regret this. Thank you for being here.
Yes, sir.
So while I totally get what you're saying, and I appreciate the position folks in Somervell are probably feeling like, especially with the situation as it is, it sounds to me like this is a bunch of complaints about an individual person. Is there not a way to put in processes and procedure? I'm a process and procedure person. Processes and procedures. I noticed in one of the things in one of these documents that you've handed us, a comment about the requirements for the position are too low. There's no way to upgrade those things to try to bolster this position so that you don't have someone who's that the personal organization and acumen of the individual does not affect your whole county. Like, is there no way to put a structure in place that kind of helps prevent that?
I wish I could tell you there were, but when the treasurer resigned, the commissioners let go of the lady that was working for. Both of those people in the county our size of roughly 10,000, they're both related to about half the county. So if they were to sign up and decide to run again, they will win, and there's nothing that anybody can do about it, and they're right back in there for another.
Right. So that's exactly what I'm asking you about. If you have someone in there who is a politician who's able to get a bunch of votes and not necessarily qualified for the position, is it possible to structure the way it works or the requirements for the position or some combination of both of those things to lessen the impact of an individual who may not be effective? And I'm trying to be as kind as I can.
Yes. The commissioners actually hired a third person to try to help her out, and it didn't get any better.
So again, we're talking about individuals here, and so in industry, we would call this tribal knowledge, where you don't have structures and policies and procedures in place. You are relying on the historical knowledge of the individuals. And when you have someone in there who's not competent, everything falls apart. So is there no way to actually structure this so that the competency level of the person does not have to impact the entire county's financial position?
Other than allowing her to draw her salary and literally sit in the office and do nothing and hire people to do every one of her duties, no.
So how will all these duties get managed if you eliminate the office of the treasurer? Who will take care of all those individual duties at that point? And will you be creating a structure for those folks to do that job?
Yes, sir. So the structure's kind of already been put in place. We brought out an outside auditor who goes around and helps clean up small counties. He's been here for about 6 months. He's actually helping train Valerie now on the duties, since she was kind of newly appointed. And our auditor is going to absorb the positions, and Valerie will stay on underneath the auditor with the additional staff that's still there.
So it's really could I characterize this as just saying we're replacing an elected position with an appointed one?
Honestly, no. We're trying to stop the money leaking from the county by eliminating a position that we can't keep from having more money leak out of at any given election in the future.
I appreciate you putting up with my questioning.
No, sir. No problem.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for this witness? Okay, thank you for your testimony. Chair calls Gayla Hawkins. Can you please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I am Gayla Hawkins, the Grayson County Treasurer, and I'm currently serving as the President of the County Treasurers Association of Texas. I am here to speak in opposition of HJR 109. Hearing arguments that the Office of County Treasurer is not feasible for the operations of its county and would be more efficiently operated by another office is, in my opinion, evidence of lack of understanding and how important it is that this role remains independent in county government. This independence is important in any sized county. This elected office was created along with all other elected offices to work together and separately to act as checks and balances for the transparent fiduciary responsibilities given those offices from the voters of their respective constituency. The Office of County Auditor was later created by statute as an appointed official to have financial oversight of all county offices, including Commissioners Court. The inner workings of these financial and accounting offices provide for the critical transparency and accountability that citizens of our counties deserve and expect. To abolish the Office of Treasurer in any county is a further step towards the dissolution of that transparency and accountability, and I'm quite certain that the majority would be vehemently opposed if they are made aware of the real implications of doing so. I have served as county treasurer myself for 26 years and fully understand the duties of my office, of which I took an oath to protect and defend. I earnestly request that any actions taken to abolish the Somervell County Treasurer's Office be opposed. It is imperative that the framework of our local government continue to be preserved. Any argument made in favor of proving that we have grown past the need for an elected treasurer is evidence of a lack of understanding about the importance of direct financial accountability to the voters that has evolved with the times to include data security and compliance. Again, we are elected to serve with a fiduciary responsibility to the people, and any action taken to chip away at this framework further removes the integrity of our offices. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak, and
Thank you, members. Are there any questions for this witness?
I actually have.
Chair recognizes Representative Rosenthal.
And with my apologies to the entire committee for going down this road again, can I ask you just could you speak to some of the questions I was just asking about this situation where we end up with an individual in place who may be less talented or less competent at it, or even just irresponsible? Is it possible to put procedures and structure in place to buffer the impacts of because it sounds to me like what we have here is an individual who has affected the financial health of an entire county.
statute dictates what the county treasurer does, and if those statutes are not being followed, and the duties of the office are not being done, then there are grounds for removal from office.
Is the removal a political process, or is it like a commissioner's court?
Commissioner's Court, or someone that brings it before.
And last question, unrelated, all the green members from the County
Yes, sir.
Treasurers Association?
These are all treasurers
The
from
green
across the
ribbons?
state.
Cool, thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Members, any other questions? Okay, thank you for your testimony. Chair calls Jennifer Henderson.
Thank you all.
Please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Jennifer Henderson, the Schleicher County Treasurer, and serve as the immediate past president of the County Treasurers Association of Texas. I am speaking today in opposition to HJR 109, as it will remove a large portion of the checks and balances necessary to ensure the proper use of public funds. The structure of county government mimics that of the state, as we are divisions of the state of Texas. We have a governing body in our Commissioners Court. The treasurer performs similar functions to the state comptroller, and much to your point, Representative Rosenthal, the county auditor is the independent oversight, as is the state auditor. Considering this committee's history of ensuring the transparency of government, I urge the members not to vote in favor of removing the checks and balances already prescribed by state law. The County Treasurers Association of Texas was requested to come work with the treasurer in Somervell County back in March of 2021. Treasurer Graves is now retired. It was our understanding up until February of this year that things were heading in the right direction. The Commissioners Court appointed a new treasurer in January of this year, the Honorable Valerie Williams, who did come from the auditor's office. I did confirm with Treasurer Williams in person in her office on February 10th of this year, and she said at that time that she was interested in running for the office and would like to continue to act as treasurer. So Somervell County does have some work to do getting their financials in order. As of February of this year, the county hasn't had a full, complete audit. My records show back to 18. Earlier, Representative Burns said 2020, but still, statutory compliance requires that at least every other year, so they're definitely in arrears there. But the Commissioners Court hasn't gotten this completed. The review of the financial records, it does seem ill-timed to get rid of the watchdog of the county finances. The fiscal accountability provided by an elected treasurer is in the best interest of county government across Texas, and I do hope it remains this way. Thank you for your time and the opportunity to speak. I would be happy to answer any questions.
The chair recognizes Representative Gerties.
How long is the county treasurer, or how many times has she been elected
Treasurer Graves?
in this county that we're removing the?
Well, I know she was reelected in November and then retired and served at least a full term before that. I believe she may have been elected 3 times, but I am not positive.
Okay. So were these issues, and you might not know the answer, might be for somebody else in the audience, but were these issues talked about during her campaign? Was it public knowledge of what was going on with her particular office? And the folks of the county still wanted her to be in that position. Obviously, if they elected her, I just don't know if all these issues were made public about what kind of financial situation the county was in.
I can't speak to directly what happened in the media in that county. I can tell you in our county, when we have our outside audit completed every year, anything that is cited in those is gone over in Commissioners Court. So I would think at that time the public would know about it.
And then, I mean, was the Commissioners Court working with her to get these issues resolved?
My understanding is there was a lot of tension between the Commissioners Court and the Treasurer's Office. They have also, in the last year and a half, replaced their auditor. And so in county government, what county treasurers do, part of what we do is, like, say, to verify warrants or invoices for payment. That's in statute before we disperse money, county funds. But when you have a county auditor, they are supposed to audit what all elected officials do. When it comes to the invoices, they should be making sure it was a budgeted fund. But part of an auditor's job is to also make sure that all elected officials are following statute. So there is some
So the
some
burden of
compliance
this
in
falls
place.
on the auditor?
If you have a county auditor, that should be part of the compliance process that is in place. And county auditors by statute get to set policy. It's actually a misdemeanor if they have given you a written procedure and you don't follow it. I don't know that I've ever seen anybody get the $500 fine, but it is in statute that if an auditor prescribes a process, then the elected official would have to follow that process.
Thank you.
Members, Chair recognizes Vice Chair Stuckey.
Thank you for being here, Jennifer. So if you have a county of 10,000 and nobody there is qualified to do this at this point, other than if they're related to, everybody else in town, what is the recommendation from the treasurer? Would you bring somebody in from outside till the next election? How do you fix that? And then also make sure that everybody on both sides is accountable, including the county judge and the county commissioners.
So I know in the case of this county, it's been a while ago, but the Commissioner's Court has discretion right now of where payroll is done. So that's a Commissioner's Court discretion. Payroll was moved out of the Treasurer's office and assigned to the Auditor's office. They could have assigned it to anyone, but they never assign it anywhere fun, like a sheriff's office. But, payroll got moved to the Auditor's office. They were still processing invoices there. But if there's somebody potentially not competent in the Treasurer's office, I would assume a Commissioner's Court would use the Auditor's office to help bring that into compliance. So, but were you asking specifically if it was under 10,000?
It sounds, well, the county sounds like it's about 10,000.
It's 10
There's a
to.
possibility that there's nobody in that county that has the training to do the treasurer or the auditor. It sounds like they've had incompetencies in some way, in some of that, to this point.
Well, they were able to find a competent auditor, so, and they are statutorily large enough to where they had both sides. Part of what our organization does is offer training, so we certainly go in person. I've gone quite a few counties actually to go help work, whether it's get bank statements back in balance, but treasurers are required to get 20 years of education per year. So there's lots of resources available.
And I just want to advise the audience that in order, any conversations, we ask that you not speak regarding these particular issues while another person's testifying. Thank you.
Thank you. So there are education requirements that are already in play, and I would think bringing in sometimes an outside CPA, I've seen that happen, and then sometimes that person will train a treasurer to do things that way too.
Sounds like there needs to be also an audit on, the educational requirements for everybody in that county. I don't know. Are we all, in the questions that we're not going to get to answer tonight is, was this treasurer, did she have the continuing education necessary to do the things right? Or she just, as somebody else stated, not going to do it?
To my knowledge, she did complete all of her education hours. I never was under the impression that she wasn't willing to do the job.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for this witness? Seeing none, thank you for your testimony. Chair calls Leanne Monk. Can you please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill?
Oh, good evening, committee. My name's Leanne Monk, and I'm the Tyler County Treasurer, and I am here tonight to represent myself in opposition of HJR 109. I'm listening to the testimony given by the previous gentleman, the attorney, and I'm here to tell you that I am the example of how you need to trust the process. The process is set forth by a whole lot smarter people than I am, and they set the Texas Constitution in place, and they had an idea that everybody deserved checks and balances, and everybody deserved a voice for their money. And we work hard for that money, and so that voice is very important to me, and that is why I ran. And I ran as a result of all the things that we have mentioned here that is happening right now in Somervell County. Our treasurer before me had all of her duties and responsibilities taken away from her because of her lack of ability to do what she was charged to do. But my county decided not to abolish the position, but instead trust the process and trust that in a county of 23,000 people, somebody would be not related and would run and everything would be okay. Now, I am related to a lot of people, but I can tell you that I have been competent in my job, in my position, and I am now in my second term. I am proud of the job that we have done, and I am begging you to understand that we have a process for a reason. And the process of the Texas Constitution does not need to be discarded because people may or may not enjoy their job, may or may not be competent to do their job, or may not get along with somebody in their county. So what I'm going to tell you today is that elected, and I'm totally off script, so I'm so sorry about that. But I am that example. I am the process working, and I am proud of that. But people in elected positions change all the time. Elected officials are at the mercy of the voter based on the job that they do, related or not. I am fully aware of this reality at all times, as I'm sure y'all are too. The decision of who fills a position is completely different from if there is a position at all. Who fills a position should remain the voter's choice, and however, the position itself was decided on long ago by those wise legislatures who believe that all Texans should have a voice voted in to ensure the accountability of their tax dollars. Once we start down the road of abolishment, we are turning away from those fundamental beliefs. Another example is since first taking office in 2019, I've learned firsthand the importance of separation of duties, responsibilities, and core functions within local government. Allowing one office, no matter which one, to control all the aspects of day-to-day operations in government can be a dangerous and unclear road to travel. In Tyler County, like most other counties in Texas, we received ARPA funds. My Commissioner's Court decided that it would be a good idea to give every elected official a $3,000 ARPA payment. Although there has been much debate as to whether we should or should not have done that, I stood against my court in opposition. I was that checks and balances. Based on code, law, legal advice, and personal conviction, I went against all but 2 other officials in my county.
Thank you. Thank you. Members, are there any questions? Chair recognizes Representative Orr.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Were you appointed?
No, ma'am, I ran.
Okay. And are you bonded?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that process?
The bond made out to the county judge is to take care of anything that I do inappropriately.
Yes.
To make sure that I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, and that if I don't, then
And that's statewide?
it's statewide. Yes, ma'am.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, members. Any other questions for this witness? Thank you for your testimony. Chair calls Tracy Solden. Can you please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill?
Good evening, Madam Chair and committee members. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you today. I am Tracy Solden, Kerr County Treasurer, and I'm speaking in opposition to HJR 109. The Treasurer, as the Chief Financial Custodian, is responsible for assuring the accuracy and the safety of county funds. Statutorily, county treasurers are responsible for receiving monies belonging to the county, keeping and accounting for all monies in a designated depository, maintaining records of all deposits and withdrawals, dispersing all monies in such a manner as the Commissioner's Court may direct, acting as chief liaison between the county and all depository banks, and investing county funds in compliance with the Public Funds Investment Act and the county's investment policy. We are also an extension of the state, collecting monies for the state and reporting on behalf of the state comptroller. The comptroller trusts and depends on our capacity to perform these duties. Somervell County will not be able to comply with many of the duties as laid out in Local Government Code Section 113, among a myriad of other statutes that specifically name the treasurer as the custodian of county funds. In addition to the statutory duties laid out for a treasurer in the Local Government Code, we also have duties prescribed by the Government Code, the Code of Criminal Procedure, and the Agriculture Code. Abolishment would remove a key layer of oversight in banking operations as well. Texas law provides that treasurers may not disperse funds without proper orders for payment. When counties act according to best practices, the treasurer verifies the legality and propriety of orders for payment, and the auditor validates the order and ensures that they are budgeted expenses. This relationship adds additional layers of accountability for taxpayer funds. Texas counties are increasingly the target of attempted bank fraud, and some have lost taxpayer funds from fraudulent ACH transactions. Treasurers receive specific annual training that is statutorily required to help guard against bank fraud so that they can be the county's watchdog. Criminals are using increasingly sophisticated methods to steal, and training is continually updated to reflect these new methods. It would be illogical to remove the county's banker from overseeing the safety of the county's financial transactions. Abolition bills usually surface from personality conflicts and political retribution, rather than a position of being a sound, fiscally responsible decision. Elected officials come and go, yet the institution remains and certainly should not be eliminated over a local squabble between elected officials. This is not just a Somervell County issue, it's a statewide constitutional position. I implore you to vote against the abolishment of the elected treasurer's office in Somervell County in order to preserve the integrity of county finances and to keep the system of checks and balances put into place by the Constitution.
Thank you, members. Are there any questions for this witness? Okay. Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Chair calls Dr. Carla Wyatt. Please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill.
Good evening. Thank you so much for allowing me to be here. My name is Dr. Carla L. Wyatt. I am in opposition of this, House Bill 109. I'm so sorry, I'm tongue-tied. I am from the Harris County, and I'm so excited to be here because I believe that all the ladies and gentlemen and the green ribbons, we worked very hard for these positions. I think each and every one of you ran for your offices. And in running for your offices, I'm sure that you worked your behinds off to be here, and so did we. The first thing is that this is ridiculous that we're trying to get rid of something that our forefathers set forth for us to follow in the Constitution. Treasurers across the state serve a vital role in transparency, accountability, and fiduciary responsibility. I believe that, there are a lot of people that are probably not qualified for their positions. And they probably have sat in those seats for a very long time, and they've made some mistakes and had to learn along the way. I'm from a very large county. I am from the largest county in the state of Texas. I didn't expect so many things from Harris County to be on the discussion today, but I'm just thrilled to be here. But balances of the Treasurer's Office to provide the best service to the constituents of the state of Texas. This is an attempt at a power grab. This is an attempt to weaken the system that was established a long time ago. And so it is my sincere hope that this committee will stand with us and strike down this bill. I am not a politician. I am a public servant. I've worked for Harris County for the last 20 years. I started as an intern. I've worked for Harris County Engineering, Flood Control, Toll Road, Right-of-Way, Construction, a county commissioner, a constable, and now I am your Harris County Treasurer. And so I do not take this lightly. Many things happened to and around me during my campaign. And so for this to come up at this time is truly an attack on all of the hard work that we all have done. And so on January the 1st, I took an oath. And so today I'm asking you to take a vow. And in that vow, there are 3 letters. The first one is the V. Harris County treasurers are very valuable, and I hope that you will see that. You have an O, which is your opportunity to do the right thing. There's also a W. In that W, I hope that you will use your work to show our worth. Again, I'm Dr. Carla L. Wyatt from Harris County. Carla like the hurricane, Wyatt like Earp. Some people call me trouble.
Well, if you'll stay up here, Chair recognizes Representative Slayton.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for being here. I had a couple questions because I'm trying to learn about this as well. And what I'm heard is there was some incompetency and and looking to correct it by making this move. So my question is, have you heard of any other elected position where there was incompetence and then they decided to get rid of the position in the county? Or is this something typical that they kind of has happened with county treasurers? Or what do you know about other elected officials, how, and this bill, the concept of this bill?
My personal experience, like I said, I've worked at the county for 20 years, and I've seen incompetence in several offices, and people
Right.
didn't get put out.
Right. And I'll
They
give you,
corrected it, and they moved on. They figured out a way to
Right.
put policies and procedures in place to ensure that these things would not happen again.
right. And I'm not going to mention the sheriff's department, but I know of one sheriff's department that somebody was ordering pizza using the credit card. And an inmate memorized the credit card that was read over the telephone, which they were just listening. And then they looked through the front window of the jail, called the bail bond business. The phone number was on the sign, and they bailed themselves out with the county credit card. That was what I would say is some incompetence.
Absolutely.
And no one was trying to remove different, the elected official or anything. They had different procedures how they ordered food after that point. So anyway, I just appreciate it. I'm just trying to understand, how, what's causing this, and then of course, why this solution to the problem. That's what I'm trying to figure out.
In my opinion, I believe this is an attempt to have a power grab and to put an appointed person into this position so that certain people can be in charge without having those checks and balances and not having that watchdog in place.
Okay, and thanks for mentioning that. So that brings up one more question. So someone gets elected to office, they're elected by however many people vote, right? Majority of people that vote there. If this were to be in place, that treasurer, instead of being accountable to the public, they would now be accountable to three, because just the majority of the commissioners court, that if three people on the commissioners court, assuming it's 4 commissioners and county judge, if they decide they don't like the person,
They don't like the
regardless of their
color
job
tie they
description,
have
now
on.
those 3 people get to get rid of them instead of the public
Yes, sir.
voting them out. Okay,
Yes,
thank
sir.
you very much.
Chair recognizes Representative Rosenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Wyatt. It's a pleasure to see my county treasurer here. Welcome to your Texas House.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service to our county. I know I have been in this role a short time, and I know you have been a couple of decades.
No, well, I've been in this role since January
No,
1.
I
I've
understand.
been at the county for 20 years.
Couple of decades serving our county, and that's
Yes,
what
sir.
I would like you to speak to. So no human is perfect, and we cannot expect, whether they are elected, appointed, hired into administrative roles or whatever, nobody can expect everyone to be perfect all the time, right? And so, in your experience in all these different aspects of our county government, has it been your experience that we put in processes and procedures to make sure that we can correct stuff when it goes off the rails? Because sometimes it does. Can you speak to that a little bit?
Yes, sir, absolutely. And in my office, I've been in my office for 3 months. And my first assistant treasurer is here, Douglas Ray, and he and I have been going over the policies and procedures in our office. For instance, during Hurricane Harvey, I ran all communications for Hurricane Harvey on the federal, state, and local level. 7 days no sleep, 37 days without going home. And so one of the first things we thought about was, what was our emergency management plan? What if the building blew up? What if we had a flood? What were we going to do? And we started seeking in the office, where are the policies, where are the procedures? They do not exist. And so we're in the process of setting out policies and procedures for things that may or may not happen. And so in my experience, it is imperative that you have qualified individuals who are competent, that have experience and understanding that things can go wrong. And when they do go wrong, you admit that it went wrong and you find a way to fix it.
Thank you, and I want to speak to the advantages or disadvantages of having an elected person in this role. I remember, and I probably shouldn't bring this up, but I remember during the election cycle, I do not participate in competitive primaries or whatever, and I just remember the election cycle part of the whole debate was about issues that had occurred in that office prior. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
So in an electoral process, that is an opportunity for the people to choose a correction when stuff is clearly going wrong. So I remember this being an issue. I remember in the general, both of y'all were talking about the same issues.
We were, and
I want you to speak to the value of having an elected person.
the value of having an elected person in that position is there's a separation. And so in that separation, you have those checks and balances. And so no one person or no one group is in charge. Due to personality conflicts or due to just, I don't like the color of your tie, I don't want you here, therefore we're going to do something different. I believe that it is imperative that we have those checks and balances. Before I ran for this office, and while I was running for this office, there were lots of individuals that didn't even know that we had a treasurer's office in Harris County. And people asked me many, many times, well, who is the current treasurer? And I thought that was very odd. But when they saw me coming and they knew that I was running, they may not have remembered my name. They may not have known all of my qualifications, but they knew that I was running for Harris County Treasurer. They knew that I am one of the people. There are two types of people. There's one that watches the clock, and there's another that has no clock. I have no clock. I work 24 hours a day for the constituents of Harris County. You can ask my first assistant treasurer, who gets text messages and emails from me all times of the day and night.
Well, I
So-
appreciate your service, but
Yeah.
I'm watching the clock. And I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for your
Thank you so
testimony.
much.
Chair calls Pauline Medrano. Can you please state your name, whom you represent, and your position on the bill?
Good evening. Thank you, Madam Treasurer, and thank you, Madam Chair. We're here, thank you. And committee members, bring you greetings from our wonderful county, Dallas. I'm Pauline Medrano. I'm the County Treasurer for Dallas County. I also serve as the second Vice President of the County Treasurers Association of Texas, and I'm speaking in opposition of HJR 109. The Constitution established county treasurers as independent elected officials. I believe in part the reason of this is to ensure that they have the freedom to ask tough financial questions. That a person who is hired or appointed does not have that freedom to ask. If I have an issue or need to take action to ensure that the statutes are followed, I'm free to speak up without worried or fear that I'm not going to get fired or that I'm not going to be reappointed by anyone. I answer to the voters and to the law. Removing the voice of an elected official from conversation removes a critical check on the power of the Commissioner's Court. If the legislature starts abolishing treasurers, county by county, this shadow will loom over every treasurer each time they stand up and ask tough questions. They may make other elected officials uncomfortable. No elected official should face the threat of having their office abolished for doing their job. If an elected official is not doing their job correctly, the recourse is to take the case to the voters. Shifting the duties of the treasurer into other offices causes more work in those offices, leading the need for more employees. In the end, there's likely no real cost savings because there's still a need for those key treasurer functions to be completed. The real loss, and it's been mentioned, transparency, accountability, and the fiduciary responsibility to the taxpayers and to our voters. Just as the state keeps the legislative functions separate from the comptroller, the elected county treasurers preserves the same checks and balances at the county level. Madam Chair, thank you very much, and I'm here to answer any questions.
Thank you. And I don't think there will be questions from my colleagues, but what I will say is that we're thankful to you for your service, for all of the stuff and work that you've done, paving the road for women, for Latinas in Dallas County. But really, your family's legacy of service in our county is longstanding. So thank you for being here.
Madam Chair, thank you. Thank you to the members of the committee.
Thank you. Chair calls Cindy Yates Brown.
Finally. Madam Chair, members of the committee, and Vice Chair Stuckey, glad to be here from your home county. My name is Cindy Yates Brown. I am here representing the County Treasurers Association of Texas, and I am the Denton County Treasurer and have served in that capacity since 1999. But I altogether have 37 years in the Denton County Treasurer's Office, and so this is a very near and dear subject to my heart. I am opposed to HJR 109, seeking the abolishment of the position of County Treasurer in Somervell. I can't add any more to you tonight than what my colleagues have already said. But as Representative Rosenthal said, it is up to the voters to elect their representation. And we are asking you to preserve that right to the voters of Somervell to elect it. I've heard that this is a local issue. If it was a local issue, they would be taking care of it locally. We wouldn't be standing here before you tonight asking for a state constitutional amendment. It is a statewide issue, and every person in this room that lives in this state will be able to vote for it. So it is more than a local issue. It has implications that are widespread. It's been 40 years since we've lost an elected position in another county. And that is because we have tried our best to educate and inform our legislators and our constituents to the importance of our office. We hold ourselves accountable, and you asked if there could be procedures put in place to address the problems that happened in Somervell. Absolutely. Between the auditor, who is the chief financial officer, and the county treasurer, who is the chief custodian, we both have an obligation to manage those scales between checks and balances. I know those are buzzwords, but it's important that these rights remain to preserve the check and balances between an elected official and an appointed position, so we maintain the autonomy that exists, so there's no concentration of power with either official or the commissioner's court. That autonomy exists for a reason. So I ask for each of you to honor our oath to protect, defend, and preserve our state constitution, and join me in opposition to this bill. Thank you, and I'm available for questions.
Well, Cindy, I want to tell you do a great job for Denton County, and I have two good treasurers, Denton County and Wise County, with Catherine Hudson. So thank you for what you do. We know you do a lot of hard work. Members, do you have any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for being here. I know you were in my office at 8 o'clock this morning, so you've had a long day.
Thank you.
The chair calls Daphne Tenorio. Please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill.
So my name is Daphne Tenorio. I'm a former city councilwoman from the city of Kyle, Texas. I'm a former member of the Texas Municipal League Board, as well as the first woman president of the Association of Hispanic Municipal Officials. I currently serve my constituency of Hays County as the treasurer. We are the fastest growing county in the state of Texas. And let me tell you why that's important. It's important because my constituents got to choose who they wanted to represent them. They chose me because, they heard from me, they knew what I wanted to do, they knew that I could guarantee them the transparency that they deserve, and they knew that I would work for them. That is what we all do as an elected official. You asked about a bond, Representative Moore. I carry a $500,000 bond. Why is that important? Somervell, your treasurer, has a bond. Use it. Recoup those expenses. How do you remove me from office? You can. Do you know how? Well, we are all held accountable to our justice system. In order to remove me, you file a bill with the district courts. I go to court. I plead my case. I win my office, or I can lose my office. There are checks and balances for removal. Eliminating an elected official position is not the way to solve a fiscal problem. Educating your constituency, educating your commissioners, educating your community, as well as assuring that your elected official is getting the education and support that they need, is the way you solve your fiscal problems. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you. I thank my constituency for the opportunity to serve. And I look forward to answering any questions that you might have. I ask for your support in making sure that the people of Somerville have the opportunity that every other person in the state of Texas has, and that's to choose who's going to be their purse string holder and their watchdog.
Thank you, Daphne. How many people a day are you growing by in?
About 1,000.
1,000 in Hays County?
Yes.
Okay. Denton's right up there with you.
Yes, sir.
Members, do you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
Thank you for being here. The chair calls Bill Helton. Bill, please state your name, who you represent, and your position on the bill.
My name is Bill Helton. I'm treasurer for McLennan County, Waco, Texas, and I'm representing myself. I've been treasurer for 30 years, and the jobs that we do are complex. And I want to make a distinction between what we do and what other elected officials do, because not in all cases, but in many cases, we're doing the work. I've done the work in my office. I had to learn how to do it, and it doesn't happen overnight. I'm still learning. And as a matter of fact, I've got some people working for me that I think are going to pass me. They learn a lot faster than I do, but such as the younger generation. My presentation, I've set it aside because I heard some questions from the members of the committee that I wanted to address, just to give you what I think, or what I've learned through my experience. I heard someone say, was asking about, well, training somebody. You all of a sudden you've got no treasurer. You had a treasurer, now you don't have a treasurer. And I think in Somervell County, as I recall, they really had a problem with both the treasurer and the auditor. Well, okay, you got to have every job in my office. I've structured it so I got a person and a backup. And counties have middle managers. They call them chief deputies. And so it's through this process of structuring your organization that you get a suitable level of professional capability, I guess you call it. And we've got 254 counties and 245 treasurers. I asked Charles Jones in Bell County, he was here in the 80s, what happened? Why did those treasurers get abolished? And he said, well, when they first started presenting those bills, he said that the treasurers just ignored them. They just said, well, that's them. And so they just let them slide through. And it wasn't until later that they started working with the legislators and trying to educate them on the situation. What we have, talk about checks and balances, that to me is another word for internal controls. That's what I call internal controls. We also have independent internal audit. What it amounts to is like a dual control that keeps county money safe. The concepts are in the standards for accounting and auditing. They're complex, and you can't expect the county commissioners or the public, the voters, to have a concept of that. But it is extremely important that you have both of those positions in place, because it's risky out there. It's risky. A lot of counties have lost money that you don't even know about. As a matter of fact, if you don't have both of those positions, you can lose money and nobody will know about it. send a report to Commissioners Court,
Thank you,
bunch of
Mr.
numbers on
Helton.
it, $10 million to be missing, they probably wouldn't know if it's a big county.
Thank you,
know?
Mr. Helton.
I'm running out of time.
Well,
Don't-
you're out of time, but I'm going to give, we got questions for
Yeah,
you.
questions.
Representative Rosendahl.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Helton, for your service. How long did you say you've been serving in this role?
30 years. I'm getting to where I'm getting close to about the longest serving treasurer,
And can I ask the population of the county you serve?
about 250,000.
That's a pretty good sized county.
Yeah,
You
it's a pretty good
consider, and I'm sorry that Doc Anderson
Couple
is on
hundred-
this
couple hundred
committee. He
million dollars.
used to be, I love the man.
Couple $100 million in the bank.
Huh?
About $200 million in the bank. Now,
Okay.
or that's cash on hand.
So I guess my question is, do you consider your department safeguard for your county's finances?
What's that now?
The safeguard of your county's finances. Is that
Well-
your department?
The safeguards is, like I said, it's internal controls and independent internal audit.
But these are all structures within the treasurer's department, yeah?
In McLennan County, it's always a project we're working on. And so Galveston County, see, I've been here long enough, I know the history of some of Galveston County in particular. And they've had their problems. But yeah, it's never totally resolved. It's always something we're working on.
Well, I appreciate your efforts, and I believe it could be said, wise man is never 100% certain. It's the fool that is.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank y'all.
Thank you. I got one more question for you, sir. Representative
My father lives in McLennan County. I appreciate you keeping them on track.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
I'm a little hard of hearing, so that's the reason I'm leaning over. All right, thank you.
Thank you. The chair calls Carlos Lopez. Thank you, Carlos. You know the routine. Your name, who you represent, your position on the bill, please.
Yes, sir. Good evening, everyone. It's Carlos Lopez. I am representing the Justices of the Peace and Constables Association of Texas against the bill. You've heard it before, but JPCA is the largest organization with the most elected officials in the state of Texas, with over 2,000 members. Our JPCA platform includes the opposition of the abolishment of constitutional county offices in the state of Texas. We believe in the Constitution, and the office of the county treasurer is a constitutional office that was created as a checks and balances system, which you've heard over and over again, between offices with budgetary control and the county's treasury management. Look, and you're going to hear in another bill that's coming up, if you don't want to be a county treasurer, then don't run for it. If you have an issue as a citizen and you don't like the county treasurer, vote him out. If you have an issue with a county treasurer that is incompetent and cannot do their job, there's a process for removal. It's a quo warranto process. It's there. Deal with the individual, deal with the problem, deal with the local issue, but don't get rid of the office. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
Thank you, Constable Lopez. Members, any questions? No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Chair calls Philip Furlow. Please state your name, who you represent, and the position on the bill.
Howdy, folks. I'm Philip McFurlow. I'm the 106th Judicial District Attorney. I am opposed to the bill. The 106th Judicial District covers 4 counties in rural West Texas. And I'm just going to state right off the front, I am not a numbers person. I'm a trial lawyer. I'm a district attorney. And I can argue about numbers all day long, but do not make me balance them at the end of the month. My county treasurers are a valuable resource to me. It's an elected position. It is important to county governance and day-to-day business, and I rely on 4 of them. Auditors are completely separate and different. They are appointed by the district judge. Your treasurers are voted on. It is an elected position. And I do want to clean up a couple of things. Instead of eliminating an elected position, there is another remedy at law. You've heard some references to it. It's under Chapter 87 of the Texas Local Government Code. They can be removed for incompetency. That has been used against other elected officials already in our state. It is a district court petition that is filed by local residents. It goes to the district judge. If the district judge certifies the petition, then they appoint someone to cover that position while the litigation goes on. So I think one of the questions earlier was, how do you resolve this? Can you appoint someone? If the petition is brought for removal, there's grounds for incompetence, the district judge certifies it, that's before the trial. They can appoint someone to temporarily cover that position while they're waiting. Instead of eliminating a position, use the remedy at law that's already on the books. I've had the unfortunate position of having a county judge ask me about a potential removal action where we had someone that was not capable of doing their job. It resulted in a conversation and a resignation. There have been removal petitions filed before. Some resulted in resignations and some went forth with litigation. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Mr. Furlow. Members, any questions? Thank you for being here. Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on for or against House Joint Resolution 109? If not, the chair recognizes Chairman Burns to close. Are you registered?
Yes, but I didn't register. I registered, but I'm not registered to speak.
We'll get you registered. You go ahead and state your name, position on the bill, and who you represent.
My name's Valerie Williams, and I'm the Somervell County Treasurer. And I'm for the bill. It's really difficult to do. It's not any disrespect to anybody else that their job, because I know how hard that job is. We just had a big problem, and now we're trying to fix it how we know how. So I am actually at a conference with all of them this week. So it's going to be really fun tomorrow. But I just wanted to let you know how I feel about it. I go in there, I work 60 to 70 hours a week. I'm still working in I'm learning all the treasurer stuff. We have this special CPA guy who's coming in who is fixing everything that was messed up within the financials. And we're getting a new software system and getting all that set. And then I'm still doing, I do all the invoices still. I want to do that. That was in the APs. I want to do that. I'm going to continue to do that because I like to see what I sign. As far as questioning financials, absolutely have already done that because we had one guy we have 2 enterprise accounts, well, 3. We have a amphitheater, an expo center, and a golf course. And he was coming in not getting POs, and we just had a big problem with him, so I had to question him about all his money. And he was upset about that. And he is actually one of the ones who is probably wishing he hadn't voted to appoint me now. But that's where we are, because I will question that. I have questioned that. When I told them, when they asked me to do this, I specifically said, I want to be better than how it was before. I said, I'm going to be the most transparent treasurer ever, because I want anybody to call me that is in our county and say, hey, what is this? And I want to be able to just pull it right up and go, okay, let me tell you, this is what it is. I mean, they ask for any kind of records. I want to be able to sit there and go, okay, here you go. This is what you get, because I want it all out there. So, if you have any questions?
Thank you, members.
I'm good.
Chair recognizes Vice Chair Stuckey.
Just say thank you for being here, Valerie. I was just going to say, any other members have questions?
I do.
Representative Moore.
Thank you for stepping up to do a hard job. Did you take an oath of office?
I did, yes, ma'am.
Who swore you in?
The county judge.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Members, are there any other questions for this witness? Okay, thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to testify on, for, or against House Joint Resolution 109? Seeing none, Chair recognizes Chairman Burns to close.
Thank you, Madam Chairman and members. Appreciate your patience and for hearing us this evening. Again, the bill doesn't eliminate the position, it puts it to the voters. New county for me, I've represented 4 months, 4 commissioners and a county judge. Each commissioner represents about 2,500 people. They're pretty in touch with the folks they represent. They passed a resolution unanimously asking me to do this. I wouldn't do it in my county. I love my treasurer. She does a great job. And I'm sure all of the treasurers do here. So I don't want anybody to mischaracterize me as a treasurer hater. I'm not. But I'm also representing my county and the will of my local elected officials. And this is serious business for them. And they've come to me seeking a remedy because they believe that they've exhausted all of the remedies that you've talked about today. And I honor that. I appreciate your patience tonight. Happy to answer any questions you have. If not, I close.
Thank you. Members, are there any questions for Chairman Burns? Okay, Chair recognizes Vice Chair Stecker.
Just want to say thank you for representing your constituents.